record. Okay. Hello and welcome to the Cuss Running Podcast. Today we have Kevin Scholle. Kevin is an accomplished runner, trail runner, and ultra runner in the Illinois vicinity. Kevin, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, how's it going?
Amazing. Kevin, I love that you're wearing this yellow hoodie. I don't know why, because I feel like it just has Cuss vibes, but I know it's not a Cuss hoodie.
It's not a Cuss hoodie. However, I did see, you would not believe this. I was picking up my kid from work or from school the other day, and I randomly saw somebody with a Cuss sticker on the back of their car. And I had to merge. I had to merge so I could see who this person was. And it was just some person I didn't know who was petting their dog who was in the front seat with them. I was oh my gosh. I was so excited to see this sticker though. I was
that's
yes.
really funny because I don't even have one on my car, number one. And number two, I think I know of 3 people that have it on their car. So it's you and Sandy and then Craig have it on their car. And so now there's another one and I don't even know who that is. Oh,
yeah,
I'm gonna have to figure it out.
Not something I recognize, but it's a highlight of my day for sure.
I love that. It's spotted in the wild. That's so fun. Kevin, how did you get into running? What's your running story?
Okay. So I would say that I first started running in my life when I was much younger. I used to wrestle. So my first experiences with running was when I was maybe 5 through 15 years old. So for a while I wrestled, but it was mainly for cutting weight. So it was definitely a little bit of a different experience, a lot shorter than what I run now. So that's how I first started with it. And then over time in my early 20s, I ran a little bit, but I also smoked cigarettes at the time too. So it wasn't actually anything real going on there. And then now, after my wife and I had our first child, or our second child, actually, I should say, we both just wanted to get back into shape a little bit. And so we were starting to do some Spartan races, an obstacle course stuff. And we did maybe 3 or 4 of them. And there was we went our separate ways after that. I started to really like the running, and then she really liked the obstacle stuff. And so she went on her way of doing CrossFit and all that cool stuff. And then I just started running, and I started off just doing really simple things where you're familiar with this on Strava. I run the same 3-mile loop every single day. That's when I'm at work. I have 30 minutes on my lunch break. I try to run 3 miles as fast as I can, and so I can get back, get changed, and eat in the following 7 minutes. So I just started with that, running just a little bit, and then I'm not exactly sure how it progressed into running marathons, other than I had signed up for one, just a normal marathon I think it was in Kenosha or Milwaukee or something like that. And it got canceled because of COVID. And I just had my mindset on it. So I just decided I was just going to run it on my own anyways, that same day that it was supposed to happen. And so I ran around my neighborhood for 26.2 miles. And that was the first time that I ran a marathon, and it was awesome. And I just loved it. And at the time, I think I felt this is as far as I'd ever want to go. And then I listened to all these podcasts, and it's a running theme where everybody thinks that they've gone as far as they want to go. And then 5 days later, they're like, no, maybe I should, and I don't know if that's just me or just people in general, where it's just I don't know, I feel I have to have some type of a goal that I'm striving towards. It just helps me. It helps me stay balanced, helps me stay disciplined. And so I ran that, which included, we have some friends that live around, the corner of our neighborhood, and their little family came out with signs while I was at the end of and it was awesome. It was the first time I was running a marathon, and was in the last few miles, and it was like something like that, like really actually made a difference, like
Yeah.
where I was like, oh my gosh, this is like horrible. And I'm like not enjoying this at all. But, seeing someone like that, and I wasn't expecting it. It was something that like my wife did
Yeah.
for me. She like contacted them, privately. And like, so I was like surprised by it. And then when I got home, my kids were all there and they were super excited. They didn't know what they were like jumping up and down for, or why, what I was doing, why anybody would do something like that. But yeah, so I finished that, and then, however long after that, week or two, I just kind of, I, I just liked the feeling of, overcoming, right? Like,
Mhm.
just like doing something that I didn't know that my body, and really more so my mind, was capable of. And really, like, a long story short, I decided I wanted to try to do something a little bit longer than that. And that's when I started to look up races in our area, and I came across Childish Nonsense, my my first ultra race, and I signed up for that. And really, like, I'm not this isn't overstating it at all. It's really changed my life,
Oh.
in many ways, really. But yeah, so that's how I got started on that, and I haven't turned back since. Now it's a lot different. I The first, just doing the 50 miles, and, whatever, 50K, or the 12-hour races and stuff. And there, at first, it was kind of a matter of survival. I was just like, I just want to see if I can do this, and see if it's possible for me. And once I had that experience, and I started to do more things, whether it was in actual races or just in training on my own, just started to build some confidence. And now I try to approach it a little bit differently too, where I feel like I can, um, step on the gas isn't the right term, but I like to run pretty fast. And like,
Yeah.
there's like nothing like it in the world to me than when I'm like starting off a race, and I'm in like the first 2 miles, and I'm just like thinking to myself, like, I'm going way too fast here, but I'm just going to do it. And it's, I'll figure it out once I get there. It's always going to, um, be challenging at the end. And I have some experience of, kind of overcoming that and getting through that. And I don't know, there's just something about that, where that feeling of like, I don't know exactly how this is going to go. But I'm willing to kind of put my mind to the test and my body to the test. And especially, obviously, in like a race setting like that, where you have a lot of people around, it's like, just like awesome. And people are like so encouraging, like whether it was the first time when I was like never had any experience running something like that at all, or if it's like, I've like some people who are like, yeah, keep going faster, like, type of a thing. So it's like, just awesome how people encourage me.
Yeah. Well, I think it's I mean, from my running perspective, like our running philosophies are different. We are different styles of runners. And from watching, it's like a fascination I have, because you've said it before, like you really like to see, like, you're not just truly seeing like what your body can do as a minimum. You're trying to see like how far can I push it up to a wall. So I have two like follow-up questions. One, how do you structure your training to be able to support those types of performances? Let's start with that one, and then I'm going to come to my second
Sure. So so last year, and this is what my kids are only 6 and 7 years old, so I've only been like running in this fashion for maybe 3 or 4 years.
one.
And so last year, when I first started to do more of the ultra races, I had also like set out this goal, to run 2021 miles, in that year. Okay. And so, what, and for someone who now it's like a lot better, I like do a lot of cross training stuff, and I lift a lot and do all as much like core things as I possibly can.
Mhm.
Um, but at the time when I wasn't really used to running that type of mileage, that was basically like averaging like somewhere around like 40-ish miles a week. And that included like times when I like should have been like tapering, or I should have been recovering afterwards. I had to kind of keep that average up to do that
Yeah.
goal. Um, And so I learned a lot from that. I learned that that wasn't, my body didn't feel good. And I kind of just reassessed everything that I wanted to do. And I really kind of just looked at it as simply as like, I would like to be able to equate like health and wellness and fitness with like my body actually feeling good too, right?
Mm,
Not just that like I'm able to like perform as well as I possibly can, or that I don't know, that I look fit, or I mean, I want to like feel good, right? Like I don't want to
yeah.
feel like, you know, I don't want to feel crummy. That all being said, one of the main things that I've changed a lot over this last year, and every one of my race performances has been a lot better. And not even in placing or my time or anything like that, but just how I felt. Was the tapering that I did at the end before, and so that my body is like fully rested. I'm just like, and I really like the last 3, 4, 5 days before a race. I'm just like, I'm not doing anything, and I'm like daydreaming all day about that race day, and I'm just gonna go as hard as I possibly can, um, and then like I said, kind of see how it goes. So um, and I really enjoy that. I don't know. It's not even like definitely not any type of competitive thing with any other person or anything. It's just like with myself, because in races like this, even if I want to try to go faster or anything like that, it's still just like I'm anything can happen, right? Like I obviously I can be like intelligent in what I'm doing as far as hydration and all that kind of stuff, but like and making sure that I'm eating enough. But at the same time, it's just like sometimes I have a bad day.
Hmm.
Like I've put a lot of training into certain things, and then I've gone out on training runs, and I didn't feel like I was running as well as or feeling as well as I thought I should. And it wasn't always because I did something wrong, right? So now, yeah, that's kind of been my big thing. Just the two um, things of cross training, lifting a lot and squats, and having my wife show me how to do, having my wife show me how to lift weights like correctly, and then the rest
Yeah.
before a race. So yeah,
So the two things that they tell pretty much all ultra runners to do: strength training and respect the taper. And you did it, and it has brought you
perfect.
success.
Yeah, good. Yes.
But wait, so okay, when you go into a race, because I've seen you at several races, like you come in and you have your little cooler and you go to it. Do you go into a race knowing like I want to do X amount of calories, this amount of time? Do you have that, or is it very intuitive for you? Like you think
Uh,
I'm just
no,
feeling it, I should do it.
yeah, sorry. Totally intuitive. I don't have any, at the end of the day, I'm going to be happy no matter what, like if I just like that final feeling um of I've completely exhausted myself,
Yeah.
and whether that's mentally or physically. So I just like try to, I don't know, I just try to like feel it as I'm going, and it's it hasn't, because I think that other things happen later on in the race too, where like yeah, when I'm like starting off faster, and I'm going into it, I'm thinking to myself in the first couple of miles, depending on what the race is, what if it's like a 50K, the last race I just did, that's the first time I've ever ran a 50K.
Mhm.
So I was like literally, I was like, before that I was talking to Jason, and I
Mhm.
was like, I've never ran this distance before. I've run faster than this, and or I'm sorry, longer than this and shorter than this, but never this. So I didn't really know exactly what I should do. But I felt really good, just going out there, and then I hit a couple of hills, and I was like, okay, maybe I should slow down like a little bit. Um, but, um, but not too much. So to answer your question though, no, I don't have a game plan for the timely nonsense this year. The 12-hour race, I wanted to get 100K in. So that
Mhm.
was like one goal
Yeah.
that was kind of specific. But again, and I was like, when I was at like 50 miles for that, I was like, oh, I don't think so. I
Yeah.
don't, maybe another day,
Yeah.
maybe another day. But then the guy who was running right behind me,
Mhm.
he wouldn't quit.
Mm-mm.
He would
No, he
not
wouldn't.
quit. And I like literally to the point where like we're in a 1 mile loop in a park, and I'm like looking across the park every single time I'm running around to see like, is this guy ever going to stop? And
Yeah.
it pushed me past that. I ended up running 64.5 miles. So it pushed me past what I, thought I was going to be able to do even that late in the race where I was like already pretty exhausted. So, yeah, I don't really, yeah, it's not like uh, there's too many variables for me to have like an exact goal in mind. I just want to do the best that I can do. It's
Yeah.
really that simple, and I think that that's kind of just changed over time, how I feel about that and my confidence level. But and if it doesn't go that great, then that's okay too. Life is still really good.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm curious how, like, what is going through your head? Like, how are you keeping yourself so focused on maintaining the speed and pushing your body? Because most people approach these races like from a different mindset of like, I'm going to keep a steady pace and I'm going to really control it and I'm going to slow it down. And you're coming at it with a totally different mindset. So how do you keep pushing yourself? What's going on, in your head? Are you listening to music? Are you motivated by something? Or are you just like fighting demons?
Yeah, that last one is a good. That's pretty good. Yeah, yeah. I'm thinking to myself, this is one day or whatever amount of time I'm thinking that it's going to be. Whether it's depending on the length of the distance of the race. I'm just thinking to myself the entire time, this will be over at whatever time, and then I can do whatever I want. And that, but I train so much just for this one day, and I don't feel that way on my like normal training rate runs, right? Where I'm like kind of trying to take a little bit easier and stuff. And um, so I try to like take advantage of like the adrenaline that I have and see kind of what I can do with that. Um, and I'm like, I'm, I don't know. I'm thinking to myself, in like a David Goggins type way of like, I'm gonna really like, not certainly not quite like him, but really
Yeah.
like these moments in my life, they make a difference when I'm at work throughout the
Mhm.
week, or how I'm like parenting my child, or what I mean, like when I'm able to get through tough moments on a consistent basis, and do something that's like hard every day. Um, it ends up paying dividends in like the rest of my life, right? And then also, I think that those whether I'm just going on an easy run or not, and I go for a long distance, pushing through those, through the ceiling, that pays dividends later on. If I have enough experiences where I can, where I've overcome something, some pain or some whatever it is that I need to overcome, then I get more confident in being able to do that the next time. So yes, basically the entire time I'm like just thinking to myself, like, this is only going to last for so long, and then we'll figure it out later on. How to assess the situation, and then like again, depending on what the race situation is like. Whether it's a 1 mile loop where I'm coming back to the aid station every time, or if it's 5 mile loop, whatever it is, I have these really brief interactions with people, and they just ask me, "What do I need?" And there's something really simple about that, and most of the time I'm like pretty prepared just on my own, that I don't really need that much. But just hearing somebody say that, when I'm like, fully, in between my two ears, right? Like focused on this thing, and just having some type of an outside voice come in and kind of like crack that up open a little bit, kind of just like gets me going for like the next one. I just need like a little, um, cracking of the surface inside in my head from somebody else, to kind of motivate me to go back into that deep waters type place.
Absolutely. So, I mean, you do all of your training pretty much solo, right? You're not like in a running group. You're not in a training group. You don't go out and do like casual runs with people. You do it 100% solo.
Right. I'm highly interested in doing that as time goes on. That's really just a matter of like convenience, honestly, with my two kids, where I'm like probably just trying to like make it as simple as possible for myself to just like walk right out the door and then come back, but yeah, that's funny too, because I listen to music all the time when I'm training, and then every time that I've ever run a race, I don't listen to music for whatever reason. So I like kind of totally switch it up. I don't know if I just like can't. I think that's like a pacing thing where I don't want to like have any outside influences, kind of pace me. I want to just have it just be like my own, mental state and how I'm feeling, kind of dictate that. So yeah.
Impressive.
But that's really been like, honestly, one of the bigger things that I've enjoyed so much about the ultra community, and the people that I've met specifically at your races, is that I'm like I'm a loner, like big time. Like I like to spend time with my wife and my kids. They all like make fun of me. It's because I don't have like any friends. I just like to I like do the same thing like every single day. I like get up in the morning and I like work out before my kids get up, hang out with my kids for a little bit, go to work, try to run on my lunch break, and I come home and I hang out with my kids again and my wife, and I like love it. It's like my favorite thing. There's nothing. I feel like that's a great life, right?
Yeah.
And then over time, over the last couple of years, just meeting a few people, even the Cuss challenges. It's like I don't know what those things mean to other people, but to me, it's they've been really important, because if you're believing what I'm describing to you, where I'm like, when I'm running, I'm in my head, right? And I'm just like so focused on what I'm doing. And that's not always a speed thing, right? It's just even focusing on how I'm feeling. Again, the times that I've done the challenges throughout a race or throughout a run, where again, it just like breaks up this like single track mind that I can have sometimes with these things, with running, has been awesome. And then going forward with that, and people at the races, they like recognize me from posting on Facebook and stuff like that, so then they talk to me, and it just like opens me up a little bit. And then in the last couple of races, I'm like chatty Cathy,
I know,
at this point. Like,
really
I'm like super excited, to talk to people and see what's going on. So and that's basically the extent of that. I haven't made any new friends outside of the races or anything like that, but I'm okay with that. So yeah, it's been a really nice change of pace for me, and really just important for me to have an outlet. I think it's just really important to share in these experiences, as much as I think that like some things are just for me, my experiences are just for me. There's been new evidence in my life that shows me that when I share that with other people, and they've had this a similar experience, that like we don't really have to even say that much, and we just kind of understand each other. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I find that to be amazing. And I'm sitting like, as someone who is also incredibly introverted and spends all their time with their wife and their child, and we work from home with each other all the time. Like I also I don't go to running groups. I actually got like conned into going on a group run one time because I was trying to be nice, and I did it pretty recently. I went and ran with two other people, and one I was dying, and then two, like I liked those people, but it's just not the experience I like to have on my runs, right? Like I like to kind of be alone, but there's such value in running with the group. And so what I think is really neat is like you're doing all these runs alone, you put in a lot of miles, you train a lot, and then you show up at these races and it's like a little like spark goes off. and like you just kind of light up inside the entire race. And obviously, I've seen you have low moments in a race. And even at your lowest moment, you're still like the kindest, gentlest dude. I've seen people get grumpy and mad and frustrated. Like you're just so kind. And so it's so fun even to see you from the first childish nonsense to now, and the way you interact with people. It's like drawn you out so much. So I can kind of know and I can kind of guess, but I'm curious of like why you think running is so important to you, and why you think running kind of enables you to come outside of your shell some.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's the same thing that I was. It's well, at least it started in the same way as what I was describing before, because it may be easy for other people to be social and be, like extroverted and be, all this kind of stuff. And it's not for me for whatever reason. So again, it's like a perfect opportunity where I get to I show up to these races and I already know that these people I have similar experience to me, right? We already immediately, before we know anything else about each other, have something in common, right? So that kind of like breaks the ice for me. And so it just gives me an opportunity to again do something that's like a little bit outside of my comfort zone, even though it's like totally on a totally different level than trying to run as fast as I possibly can or whatever, or as far as I can. But I think it's a similar thing. And yeah, I don't know. I'm I have no shame. I got a lot of stuff going on in my mind all the time. I got different problems. I got um two young kids and a dog at home and work and just like everybody else. And so it's like it's a good stress reliever, right? To just get out and talk to other people. And I just recently ran with somebody at a race and got to pace with somebody, and it was like awesome. I like loved it. I don't know. It was totally something that I just didn't know was gonna be as awesome as it was. And but I like kind of like went out of my way to like reach out to somebody and ask them about it if I could help them with this thing, and just run with them, just because I was needing to have a new experience. And on top of it too, again, the my I could write like a book of short stories on like my stopping at an aid station. My
Yes.
they're so small, these interactions, but I'm telling you, I could write like a chapter on each one of them, even if it's only for like 10 seconds. I'm like trying to get back out there as fast as possible. And I don't know, again, I think that I personally think that really just has to do with again, a common experience that I know that the people who are like offering help to me have. Um, but it's just like, I don't know. I can just tell when they ask me, do you need anything? That they like already know what I need. And like, so it's like, I don't know. It's just awesome. It just kind of motivates me. And it's also just kind of changed what I um, look. When I first started running these races, I just did it because or these distances, I just did it because I just want to see how far I could go and how much I could push my body. And now it's like kind of turning into a totally different thing where now I have like a friendship with someone like you or other runners. And now it kind of is like after the last race, one of the things I told you is that like my big thing now is I like really want to like volunteer at one of these races. The next one, I gotta do it right. And also look for opportunities to pace other people too, just to kind of do something totally different. And again, kind of get outside of my mind for a little bit.
Just a little bit. Okay, so you have to like tell me a chapter now on one of these stories. You have to like give me an aid station story that you would write
Oh
in this little
boy.
book.
Oh well. Um, sure, I can give you one.
Yeah, you're gonna have to.
It's really fresh. It's from my most recent race.
Oh no.
Yeah. So I just ran this last 50K, and I don't know. It's so hard to explain, but I followed somebody out, and I ran in the wrong direction on one of the loops, and I got disqualified from the race. I've come to terms with this after thinking about it for many, many hours. I don't know. It was like the funniest thing because I was just I like came in off like the second of 4 loops, and I don't know. I feel like I like kind of like asked around, like, what is that guy doing? Why is he going back the other way? You know? And I just like in that brief second, I couldn't even hear what anybody was saying. I just saw this person who was in front of me, and I just thought to myself, like, this like instinct came over me, like, no matter what, no, this guy, could run off a bridge, and I'm gonna follow this guy out. And I did that, and I ran that race like really awesome, and I was really happy at the end of it after a few minutes. But it was like this brief mistake that I made, and it happened in like 10 seconds. And then like truly like after that, like, I was telling you, I was laughing about it with my wife because I was talking about it later that day, and my kids are telling me, oh, don't worry, people make mistakes. And but that's not the mistake is whatever, I still ran the same distance, and I still had an awesome day that day because I like ran like really hard, and I felt like I accomplished my goal of running myself into exhaustion. The story to me with that is that whatever took over me in that brief few seconds, I can't, like, I'm that's been several weeks ago. I still can't explain it to anybody what exactly happened in that moment where I was just like unable to really like filter information correctly, I guess you would. I guess that's the only way I could really put it, where I was like, I had already talked to you about it, and you told me, no, you just got to keep going the same way every time. Every time, you don't have to do anything different. But whatever, just in this moment, just something took over, and I just like kept following this person just because I thought that they were ahead of me. So lesson learned, I guess. But the other aid station stories are really more just me. I always do this thing where I'm like running up there, and I'm like kind of start to jog a little bit, and I'm coming up there, and I just start complaining. I just start saying, oh my gosh, this is so horrible, da, 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 da. And then people just say, oh no, you're good, man, you look awesome, and I just get to keep going out. And then sorry, now I'm thinking the last one was at the 12-hour race, and I was coming in, and it was like, this is again, I was probably had to be around 55-ish miles. So I'm like dying. And I'm like thinking to myself as I'm looking across the park every time, like, wait, where's this guy who's behind me? He's like, is he ever gonna stop? Is he ever gonna stop? And I came back to the aid station. I asked you, I said, we only have like an hour left. You have to tell me, am I in first place right now? I want to like chill out a little bit. I want to like relax. And you told me something like, no, I think you're in third. And so it's again, something as simple as that, where it just like was like, and I like looked at you and smiled a little bit. And I was like, all right, that's my cue. I need to just keep going as hard as I possibly can until this thing is over with. There's value in not just taking it easy at the end and just, kind of pushing it out the entire way. So, yeah.
So it's interesting because it's like, I know that you're like personally driven. It is about like pushing your own body, but you do have a competitive drive within you. You do. And have you always had that? Or is that something like kind of like you're discovering that about yourself through this running process?
No, I wouldn't say that I've always had that. It's been a really long time since I've played any type of like sport or anything like that. Certainly when I was like younger, I used to be pretty competitive in wrestling, like I said. Yeah, I don't know. It's funny because I am at these races, and I'm obviously there's other people there. But I guess I just don't like uh I look at it as we're all having fun here. We're all doing the same. We're all in the same boat here, right? Like we're all um, pushing ourselves as far as we possibly can. And again, I'm like I've I feel like if I've run enough days in my life that I feel different on different days. It doesn't always go the way that I think it should go or that I want it to go. So um, as much as I try to like mentally and physically prepare for these things and rest my body and but then get geared up in my mind before a race, I know at the end of the day it's just like I can only um do what was meant to happen that day, and I'm not trying to like get myself into any like physical, do anything unhealthy or like get dehydrated or anything like that. I'm always pretty smart with all that kind of stuff. um but I just yeah, I don't know, that's a good question because maybe you see something that I don't see, right?
You're competitive. You're
Yeah,
for sure competitive.
maybe I'm thinking about it in like just in my own head as like against myself.
Mhm.
But I'm certainly open to the idea that it's comes across as competitive with other people too.
Well, it's almost like maybe it's still you're competitive with yourself, but you seeing someone going faster than you, you're like, wait a second, can I go faster? Can I keep up? And they're just kind of the driver of kind of leading you forward and pushing yourself.
Yeah, yes. I mean, sure.
Sure, Allie.
Um, no, well, because I don't know, like I said, I try not to take the race days for granted because there's like something um extra special that happens
Mhm.
those days where
There
like
is.
adrenaline, right? Like I only get that however many races I sign up for a
Mhm.
year, and in the last few years it hasn't been more than 4 or 5 a year. So I try to take advantage of those days, and it's worked out so far, in terms of running with people. And but then there's been other times too where I know my limits on some level where it's like, all right, I need to be able to, it's today's Saturday, I need to be able to go back to work on Monday and not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, interesting. I love hearing somebody else's perspective, right?
It's amazing to learn more about yourself at our
Sure.
stage of life. So Kevin, what's next for you? What are you gonna go like what are you gonna train for next year? Are you gonna try and push your distance? Is there a goal or do we not know yet?
I think that I have a goal.
Hmm.
But
Okay.
it's a little bit, I'm pretty far off of it right now. So
Hmm.
my goal is to volunteer at some races and help pay some people. That's like a big thing that I'm really looking forward to. For me, um I want to try to get a Boston Marathon qualifying time. Yeah,
Oh,
which is a
that's
lot
fun.
different. Yeah,
Yes.
it's a lot different than what I've been doing. And so I'm the fastest marathon I run is 3:25.
Hmm.
So I'm like 20 minutes off, which is substantial.
Yeah.
But I also have never trained in that
Yeah.
specific way. And I don't know. I've seen some people do some pretty awesome things before and things that they didn't think they can do. And then I've also seen myself do that kind of stuff
Hmm.
as well. So I'm going to give it a whirl here and see how it goes. And but then in the meantime, too, I'm still going to do some other races too. I'll probably still try to get out for some 50Ks and I'll probably even still try to do I guess I'm the reigning champ at the timely
You
nonsense.
are
So I
the
guess
reigning
I
champ,
have to do
man.
that one. So
Oh, I'm moving it to September this year,
even better.
which is going to
Perfect.
be a bit better for weather, I would
No
hope.
doubt. No
I would
doubt.
hope. I'm moving it to September. A Boston qualifier. That's so fun.
Yeah, so it's just a totally different challenge than what I'm used to. And I'm kind of been doing a lot of research on it.
Mhm.
I'm like just coming off of this last 50K. That was what, just like 3 or 4 weeks ago or
Yeah.
something like that. So like I'm just finishing up this year of running. So I'm like, I gotta like get myself out there and kind of put a pretty good effort in to see kind of where I'm at right now, just like as a baseline, to see how much more I gotta go to get to that level. But I fully expect it to be a pretty long process. It's not something that's gonna come overnight. And and if I don't like it, I will do something else. You know what I mean? Like it's not like, yeah, it's a kind of a dream right now. But I'm gonna give it my best effort for sure.
Yeah. Oh, you could do it. If you really like did the right training for a boss, you could 100% do it.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited for this. This is fun.
Yeah, I'll let you know how it's going. I'm really excited about it too. Something I've been thinking about for maybe the last 3 or 4 months. Just to switch some things up a little bit, as opposed to what I've been doing the last few years. Um, so yeah.
Have you thought about like what race you would go after for your qualifier?
No, I'm not even
Not even
to
there
that
yet.
point. Yes, this is like a dream about a dream at this point. Truly, I need to get I need to get myself organized. But that's how it started when I wanted to run 50 miles the first time, or when I wanted to run a marathon the first time, where I was just thinking about what it would be like to have the thought of running, of wanting
Yeah.
to run a marathon, right? And it starts with like a little bit of hope, and and that's enough to get me excited about it. And yeah, it's gonna take. It's I got a ways to go, but that's what makes it fun, right?
Yeah. How do you, when you're doing your training, I know that like you're very a disciplined person. Do you take notes about what worked and what doesn't work? Do you like track it in a journal, or is it like all just in your head?
It's all in my head, but I um feel like I have a pretty good memory for
Mm-hmm.
what worked and didn't work. They've been pretty um, the things that didn't work were very apparent. They were very obvious. Like the first time running a 50-mile, I didn't have any like glide or like anything like that.
Oh, yeah.
It was unpleasant.
Yeah.
And then other times where I like just clearly didn't hydrate enough,
Yeah.
and so again though, I this is what I'm in a really good place right now, because I don't really fully know what I'm getting myself into.
Mm-hmm.
As far as that concerned, I'm a little bit ignorant about some of it. So I'm like learning a lot, doing a lot of research, and have a long way to go still, on all that. So um, I'm open to kind of anything. I'm not like, oh, I don't need to take notes, or I do need to take notes or anything. It's kind of just like whatever works. But I am uh, fully committed to the idea that I might have to do things totally different than I've
Yeah.
done before.
Yeah.
So, and I think that that's all I need, right?
Yeah. What advice would you have for someone that's like introverted like you on how to show up at a race or how to get motivated to go to a race, kind of get outside your shell? What advice would you have for someone who's like thinking about that? Like it makes them nervous and they have anxiety about it.
Yeah. I well, first I will say that I feel like I'm really fortunate for the people like you, that those were the first races that I was doing.
Yeah.
No, truly, that's important. I listened to like the other podcasts, and they just recently had on, I believe it was like a couple that did races, and
Mm-hmm.
they talked about the race directors caring, right, and like how
Yeah.
important that was. So that goes a really long way. And so I would first tell them that there are people like that out there,
Yeah.
who really care about the runners, and that when you are going to these races, there are people who have been in your shoes before, right? Where they're showing up for the first time. And I would tell them that everybody's nervous, you know, in different ways, depending on what it is. Even, you know, even now, even though I know people at races, I'm still, you know, anxious and nervous to see people. But I would say that, you know, it's such a funny thing too, because it's not only is it, and you know, if you have just like kind of normal anxiety of being around other people, but also at the same time, like you can be worried about, if you are doing a good job too with your actual fitness too, right? Like, so there's a lot that you can be, thinking about there, self-conscious about. But with my experiences at these races, and not only, you know, Cuss running events especially, but other races too that I've been to, everybody's like really high strung, like getting in there. Like, even though they're having a good time, they're all excited. Everybody's been putting in all this work, right, to get ready for this. So they're all anxious about it. So I think that people are all kind of in the same boat. And as far as being specifically introverted, I think the simplest thing to do is to start doing what people did with me, which was they would just say, keep going when they would pass you, right? Those little interactions kind of would build up a lot where you know, I don't know, the first like couple of races that I did, like, even though I try to be like friendly and respectful and all this, you know, and kind and all this kind of stuff, I would still kind of just keep my head down a little bit, right? And like, I wouldn't necessarily like look up to see if this person is going to be waving at me or if they're going to be saying something to me to keep going, you know? And then now it's like one by one, just trying to put myself out there a little bit. I say it to everybody. I just say, yes, keep going, you know, whatever I have to say, right? So that would just really be, I mean, no, that's my only real suggestion, is just little by little, kind of putting yourself out there. And I don't know, that's what's so cool about whether it's, I think the ultra running community in general, but you get to see a lot of the same people, right? Kind of over and over again. You get to know people. And then you know, added friends on Strava. And so we kind of know where we're coming from, right? And how our training has been going, all that kind of stuff. It really actually goes a long way, where it's like, I'm thinking to myself when I'm, you know, getting ready for the next race coming up. Oh, I'm really excited to see Jason or Oliver or Sandy or all these, you know what I mean? Like, I'm really excited to see these people, because I can even see like how hard they've been working, right? So then it gets me amped up too. So I think that the ultra running community and Cuss running in particular kind of helps do that job for me, you know, kind of takes a little bit of that pressure off, to um I can just kind of be myself, and everybody knows that everybody else is nervous, so they'll either kind of just let you be nervous, and they also know when to encourage you. So yeah.
Well, I love your first statement. It's just like, just imagine everybody has anxiety too. You know, it's like almost like kind of like, imagine everybody without their clothes on. Imagine
Seriously,
everyone else has anxiety too. And second, you know, I think it's important to note, people show up at ultra running events and they put a lot on the race directors. And obviously we do a lot of stuff, but like, my community specifically only works if people like you show up. You know, like, it only works because you guys are encouraging each other on the trails and you all are connecting with each other through, you know, the shared experience. So, you know, I appreciate you so much and like the energy you bring.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's so weird. Like, it's just like, so I don't know. Again, I think it's like that, like shared, like chosen suffering type
Oh
of a
yeah.
thing, right? Where it's just like, it's like, what are we doing? What are we doing here? Like, are we sure that we should be doing this? Yes, we have to do it. We love it, right? Like, it's just, I don't know. It's just like such a great energy. And you just don't find that in everybody that you come across. At least I don't in my work and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So, it's hard, to run. Even You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
Oh, yeah.
it's
It's
hard to
hard.
run, right? It's hard to do it every day. It's hard
Mhm.
to, I mean, there's really something to that. It's like, I don't know. I really invest a lot in that idea that like, man, if I like run every day, outside of just like the built-in like rest days, if
Mhm.
I do that every single day, it just like it just pushes everything else out in my life is kind of like that too, where it's like I do this one thing that like keeps me disciplined
Mhm.
and helps me do something hard that I don't like that I like don't necessarily always want to do every day, but I do it anyways. And it
Mhm.
just changes my attitude towards everything else, right? Like when I'm at home later on and the kids are being crazy, I you know what I mean? It's like just another hard, another challenge that I come across. It's the same thing at work, right? So yeah, I don't know. It's weird because even at this stage, I would say that I don't do a whole ton of talking at these races, but the people that I've met there have really like meant a lot to me, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I was talking to someone a couple weeks ago, and they're saying something very similar to what you were saying. It's like, if they didn't run, if they took running out of their life, that they wouldn't be like the father and the husband and like the person that they want to be. Like running creates this space for them to show up in these other areas of their life, and it creates this discipline. And you're saying something very similar. It's very cool because you don't know this guy, he lives way across the country, but you're having this like same philosophy of like running is making me the person that I want to be in other areas of my life, which I love. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I can't exactly put my finger on exactly what the correlation is between those things, but it's totally true. I don't know. It's like I don't know. It's so crazy to think about, but it's like it's really is like that where it's like I think that being somebody who runs every day helps me be a better dad, right? Like it helps me be a better worker. It helps me be a better friend, right? So yeah, I'm really really grateful, right?
Yeah.
For this thing that I do that's like really hard. Um, but it's just brought a lot of whether it's values or actual like physical things like friendships and stuff like that. It's like kind of completely changed my life in ways that I like never would have thought it would have when I was just trying to like run this like 3 mile loop on my lunch break, right? Just to like kind of like get into like a little bit of better shape after having, a couple of kids and stuff like that and not having the time to do that. So, and it's just like, um, cool too, even with my wife, where she does something totally different from me as far as fitness, but we can still kind of meet in the middle. And understanding even I went and did a workout this weekend at her gym with her, and it was just like it was so ridiculous. I was like there was box jumps in it. This was like as like this was like uh, you know basic of a CrossFit workout as you could possibly have. It's like you had to like row, you had to do like kettlebell swings and like
Yeah.
squats, and then these box jumps. So like nothing crazy, no like really strict like
Mhm.
movements or anything like that. And I was like doing these box jumps like I mean, they were like cracking up because I'm like jumping like 1 foot at a time, and like people they jump with both of their feet. I'm like totally lost. Like, what is going on here? Why do these people know how to jump better
Yeah.
than me? I'm like 35 years old. Why don't I not know how to jump? And I'm like literally thinking in this workout, like, okay, I gotta just like make it through this thing so I can run tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But at the same time too, with like my wife, like that's really important to her, and she coaches, and so we um every weekend in the morning she goes and she does her thing for a couple of hours, and I'm with the kids, and then I get to go out for a run, and we kind of make it work. And those things are that's just like really important to both of us. And she's been able to kind of build her whole life too with a bunch of friends and stuff like that from the gym too. So I don't know. There's something pretty awesome about having like common goal, and especially when it comes to like fitness, right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Amazing. Well, Kevin, I appreciate you so much. You're one of my favorites of all time. I appreciate you coming on the podcast and chatting with me. I was worried that I was gonna have to like pull out of you a little bit, but I did not. So thank you for being so open and sharing.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, my wife and I were laughing because before I left the house to come do this, she's like, "Oh, how long is it gonna be?" So I think like 45 minutes. But once I get rolling, who knows how long it will be, right? So we're just laughing about that.
We'll
But
just get
yeah,
going.
thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Kevin. Have a good night.